They called her the unstoppable Welsh beauty who conquered Hollywood with one smirk and a single dance step. Catherine Zeta-Jones wasn't just a star, she was a force. From Swansea to the Oscars, she seemed untouchable, flawless, living the kind of life most could only dream of. But here's the thing nobody saw coming. Behind the glitter, behind the gowns, behind the golden statues, her story was less fairy tale and more battlefield. Fame built her up, yes, but it also nearly broke her. And at 55, Catherine's journey isn't just about Hollywood lights, it's about scars, silence, survival, and the whispers that never really stop. Before we begin this journey through the life of Catherine Zeta-Jones, I'd be grateful if you tapped the like button and subscribed, only if you feel at home here. And I'd love to know where you're watching from and what time of day it is for you. It's always a joy seeing how many corners of the world we're all connected from.
Catherine didn't exactly grow up with Hollywood in her backyard. She was born in Swansea, Wales, the daughter of a baker and a seamstress. No red carpets, no flashing cameras, just a small town where the biggest stage was a local church hall. But Catherine, she didn't just sing, she owned the room. By age 4, she was already performing. By 11, she was Annie. And by 13, she was headlining in London's West End. Childhood wasn't really childhood. It was rehearsals, auditions, and the pressure to shine without missing a beat. And fate, strangely enough, gave her a push. Her family won the lottery, literally. Instead of blowing it on cars or vacations, her parents poured it into her future. Lessons, coaching, costumes, everything she needed to chase the spotlight. They knew Catherine wasn't just another kid with a dream. She had that fire that couldn't be ignored. By 15, she did the unthinkable. She dropped out of school to act full-time. No plan B, no safety net, just sheer belief that she was meant for something bigger. And for a while, it looked like she was unstoppable. London loved her. Theater critics couldn't get enough. The girl with the scar beneath her chin, once saved by emergency surgery as a toddler, was now rewriting her fate one stage at a time. But Hollywood wasn't about to roll out the red carpet so easily. When Catherine first set her sights on Hollywood, she expected the dream. Instead, she got the nightmare. Her film debut? A French art film that barely sold a few hundred tickets. The kind of flop so bad, even she later admitted it felt like the universe was laughing at her. And it didn't stop there. She kept landing roles, but not the kind that turned you into a star. Cheap adventure flicks, forgettable comedies, background characters nobody remembered. Casting agents wrote her off as just another pretty face with a British accent. In an industry obsessed with labels, Catherine was not enough, not American enough, not famous enough, not bankable enough. For the first time, the applause stopped. The roles dried up. And the same girl who had commanded stages in London now found herself questioning everything. Was she chasing the wrong dream? Was Hollywood ever going to take her seriously? And then, in one of those plot twists you'd never believe if it wasn't true, a single phone call changed everything. Steven Spielberg had seen her work, and something about her presence stuck with him. Suddenly, Catherine's name was on the list for something bigger, something that could flip her entire career upside down. Because the next role she fought for wouldn't just put her in the spotlight, it would make her legendary.
Hollywood had written her off, but Catherine wasn't about to fade into the background. In 1998, she landed the role that would change everything, Elena Montero in The Mask of Zorro. But don't get it twisted, this wasn't handed to her. She was up against names America already knew, Penelope Cruz, Shakira, actresses the studios thought would guarantee a hit. Catherine had to fight, literally, for her place. Sword fighting, horseback riding, hours of grueling training until her hands bled. She refused stunt doubles because she wanted every slash of the blade,
every dangerous spin, every moment on screen to be hers. And when the cameras rolled next to Antonio Banderas, she didn't just act, she erupted. The film pulled in over $250 million worldwide. Overnight, Catherine went from that TV actress from the UK to Hollywood's newest obsession. Magazine covers, late-night interviews, red carpets, she was everywhere. And the following years only proved it wasn't a fluke. Entrapment with Sean Connery, instant pop culture moment. Traffic, award nominations. And then, of course, Chicago. Pregnant and unstoppable, she sang and danced her way into an Oscar, holding the golden statue in one hand and her unborn child in the other. It was the kind of Hollywood moment most actresses only dream of, and she pulled it off like destiny itself had been waiting for her. But fame has a way of turning victories into vulnerabilities. Because just as Catherine was hitting the peak of her career, her personal life was about to become the biggest headline of all.
Hollywood loves a fairy tale romance, and Catherine Zeta-Jones gave them one, at least on the surface. In 1998, at a film festival in France, she crossed paths with a man twice her age, Michael Douglas, a Hollywood legend, a two-time Oscar winner, a guy who'd already lived through decades of fame, scandal, and power. Catherine was just 28, glowing from her Zorro success. He was 53, weathered but magnetic. Their first conversation? Let's just say, not exactly romantic. Michael walked up and told her, "I'm gonna be the father of your children." Catherine thought it was the most arrogant pickup line she'd ever heard. She smiled, excused herself, and figured that was the end of it. Spoiler, it wasn't. Within days, roses arrived on set. Handwritten notes, late-night phone calls that turned into hours of conversation. Against all odds, Catherine started falling for the man she once brushed off. By New Year's Eve of 1999, Michael proposed with a diamond ring. She said yes, and a year later, their Plaza Hotel wedding became the stuff of Hollywood legend, celebrity guests, million-dollar photos, the kind of event tabloids still drool over. But from the start, it wasn't just love. It was a circus. Paparazzi camped outside their home. Magazines questioned the 25-year age gap. Rumors flew about whether it was real, whether it would last, whether Catherine was too young, too ambitious, or just chasing fame. For a while, Catherine tried to tune it out. She moved to Bermuda with Michael, raising their two kids far away from the Hollywood spotlight. But the whispers never really stopped, and as glamorous as their marriage looked on magazine covers, behind closed doors, the story wasn't nearly as perfect. Because soon, Catherine wouldn't just be battling tabloids, she'd be battling her own mind.
Behind the magazine covers and the flawless gowns, Catherine was cracking. After the birth of her daughter Karis in 2003, the world saw a glamorous mother, but what they didn't see were the nights she couldn't get out of bed, the mornings she forced herself to smile while feeling completely empty inside. For years, she hid it. Even Michael didn't fully understand the depth of her pain. But eventually, the truth came out. Catherine had been diagnosed with bipolar II disorder, a condition marked by dark depressive lows and manic highs that could drain her energy, her focus, even her will to keep pushing forward. Hollywood, of course, didn't handle it with compassion. The tabloids twisted her struggle into clickbait. Headlines called her unstable. Paparazzi stalked her during her lowest points. And every whisper cut a little deeper. As if that wasn't enough, Michael's own battles piled on. His eldest son, Cameron, was arrested and sentenced to years in prison on drug charges. Then, in 2010, Michael himself was diagnosed with stage 4 throat cancer. Catherine went from holding red carpet poses to holding her husband's hand through brutal rounds of chemotherapy. The man who would once seem indestructible now lay frail and weak, and Catherine had to be the strong one. even as she was falling apart inside. The breaking point came in 2011. After years of putting on a brave face, she quietly checked herself into a mental health facility. When the news leaked, she made a choice most celebrities never would. She admitted it. She said, "This is a disorder that affects millions of people. I'm not ashamed. Mental health is not something to hide." That single moment turned her from just another Hollywood star into something bigger, a symbol. Fans flooded her with letters, thanking her for giving a voice to struggles they never dared to admit. But even with courage, the toll on her marriage, her career, and her sanity was undeniable. And soon, another storm would test everything she thought she had left.
By 2013, the cracks were impossible to hide. After years of sickness, stress, and relentless headlines, Catherine and Michael announced they were taking time apart. The tabloids went wild. Some claimed infidelity. Others whispered about addiction. Everyone had a theory. But the truth was simpler and sadder. They were exhausted. For Catherine, it was like free-falling. She was 44, lying awake at night, wondering if she had just lost the one person who truly understood her. Friends said she barely mentioned Michael, except once in a quiet confession, "You don't stop loving someone just because you're hurting." 8 months later, instead of choosing divorce lawyers and public battles, they did something Hollywood almost never sees. They chose each other again. No press conference, no staged photo ops, no PR spin. Just two broken people deciding love was worth the fight. But the storms weren't done. In 2018, new allegations of misconduct swirled around Michael. Catherine stood by him publicly, but sources whispered she was shaken privately. She admitted later, "I didn't sign up for perfect. I signed up for love. And love means you stand still in the chaos." By the time their children grew up and left for college, Catherine had endured more than most. Public humiliation, mental illness stigma, marriage collapse, reunion, and every rumor in between. But instead of collapsing under it all, she adapted. She found peace not in applause, but in survival. And as Catherine entered her 50s, she made a choice Hollywood wasn't expecting. She stopped chasing every spotlight and started writing a new chapter on her own terms.
By the time Catherine Zeta-Jones hit her 50s, most people expected her to fade quietly into Hollywood's "Where Are They Now" file. Instead, she surprised everyone. She re-emerged not as the young ingenue or the red carpet goddess, but as something far more powerful. A survivor who reinvented herself on her own terms. In 2022, she shocked audiences in Netflix's Wednesday, playing Morticia Addams with an elegance and eerie charm that reminded the world she was still magnetic. She wasn't chasing every script, but when she chose to appear, the world noticed. Catherine wasn't desperate for relevance. She was redefining it. Beyond acting, she built an empire that had nothing to do with Hollywood. Her lifestyle brand, Casa Zeta-Jones, grew into a multi-million-dollar business with home decor, luxury bedding, fashion, and fragrance. The same eye for glamour she once brought to the screen now lived in fabrics, scents, and design. To her, it wasn't about being famous anymore. It was about creating beauty that lasted. At home, her life looked very different. With Dylan and Karis away at college, she and Michael stepped into what she called their third act. Quieter mornings, jazz records in the living room, dancing barefoot in the kitchen instead of posing for flashing cameras. Their marriage, once shaken, now rested on a calmer, sturdier ground. But Catherine never sugarcoated her truth. She's spoken openly that her bipolar disorder hasn't disappeared. The shadow lingers, some days heavier than others. Yet instead of hiding it, she manages it with discipline. Yoga, meditation, a macrobiotic diet, therapy. She says it's not about chasing youth anymore, it's about honoring survival. And maybe that's her real legacy. Not just the Oscar, not just the iconic roles, not even the fairy tale marriage, but the fact that she refused to let life's storms silence her. She stumbled, she broke, she healed, and she came back again and again. At 55, Catherine Zeta-Jones isn't just a Hollywood star. She's living proof that survival can be just as glamorous as success. And maybe, just maybe, her greatest role has nothing to do with the movies. It's the story of a woman who kept going, even when the world expected her to fall.